Loxo is very much intrinsically connected with AI and it's trying to make recruiters' lives so much easier. Just the tools, for example, to understand what shortlisting looks like, it could just be very, very helpful for you in the sense that you might be bringing a lot of candidates that could have already been warmed up, like you've already spoken to them in the past, you know them, you have a relationship with them.
Initiating becoming a hiring machine sequence in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, it's Sam Keenley, and welcome back to Becoming a Hiring Machine. This is the show dedicated to fixing recruitment by going beyond saying what needs to change and instead teaches you how to make that change. Today, we've got a great Tactical Tuesday episode ahead of us, but before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about the show. Essentially, we have shows within the show. Some days we have interviews with industry thought leaders and others who are shaking up the space, while other days we cover things like trending topics. Stop by every Tuesday like today for a Tactical Tuesday episode where we go deep on how to do something that's going to help you drive better results in your day-to-day. And occasionally you get a mic drop episode from our founder Matt where he shares something that he's been thinking about within the recruitment space and wants you to know. Now, as a reminder, if you like the content that we're sharing on the show, make sure that you subscribe for more. All right, today's Tactical Tuesday. What are in-house recruiters changing up to get better metrics? This is a question that our in-house expert, Natalia Bullett, has been getting increasingly lately from the customers that she advises here. How can they improve time to fill, their cost per hire, diversity? So here to share what she's seeing and what she's recommending to those customers is Natalia. So Nat, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm actually very excited to be here. This is my first time in our podcast. I feel like we've been talking about this for the past year. And the more and more that I work with customers that use Loxo, the more I notice that their pain points are exactly the same across the board. But it's not very much like when you talk to agency recruiters, I feel like in-house recruiters, they have different pain points. It's not just like keeping the level with the candidates, it's also the internal pressure because I feel like there's very much this big quote right now in terms of the people you hire are what's going to take your business to the next level. So you have to hire really well. And they need to show it through these metrics that are just not quantitative, it's also qualitative. And they keep coming to me in terms of like, I don't know what to do. Like, these are my pain points, these are my struggles. And I feel like today that's what we're going to be focused on because there's quite a few that maybe we have a couple of tips and tricks for you up our sleeve.
I love it. So yeah, I think for today, we'll hone in on like 3 or 4 of them. And the first one is not going to be a surprise to anyone, but like time to fill. That's always one that every recruiter wants to know. So tell me a little bit about that one.
So everyone that works in recruitment, time to fill, especially depending on the type of industry that you're in, it could be a big struggle. Let's say that you work as an in-house recruiter for a big bank. You could sometimes see that the time to hire could take months. So you must just stay with the candidate, just like accompany them from the beginning until they get hired. But keeping them warm can also be extremely exhausting when you're in-house because it's like wanting to achieve the final goal, but you just feel like the finish line is so far ahead from you. So I feel like just analyzing, for example, those progression moments, having your ATS, understanding where the candidates are falling through, I think that that is a massive thing for you as a recruiter to be able to analyze. And I don't know, Sam, maybe you've also seen it, but it's the big funnel. So whenever you see your triangle in a sense in terms of like this is when I'm sourcing for candidates, this is when we're going into maybe the first stage of interview, second stage, if we're even doing, for example, a technical test, or if we're doing, I don't know, like peer interviews or payroll, whatever it is. It's just understanding what points are actually working for us and then actually speaking with the candidates and understanding, is the process that we're doing even worth it, or should we just start to renegotiate, just reinvest maybe in what we're doing, because that's just going to give you the key in terms of should we shift things around.
So with the progression in the funnel and the stage to stage, I know like I look at my marketing funnel and there's usually a certain stage where I look at it as a marketer, I'm like, oh, I can fix that and it's going to significantly improve things. Do you see that in any type of in-house funnel where there usually are a number of candidates dropping off for some reason or another that either they shouldn't be dropping off, or like any optimizations that you'd recommend for recruiters if they're seeing that they're just like, man, I'm not getting good candidates after this spot, or, you know, insert any other potential reason. But yeah, like Just curious about some type of diagnosis that you run there.
I feel like whenever, for example, they have the preliminary screening call with the in house recruiter, and then they jump into that first call with the hiring manager, if there's not the proper alignment in terms of what the hiring manager wants and the recruiter is actually communicating
Mm-hmm.
to the candidate, that's when there's going to be a big drop. So just like aligning internally with your hiring managers, maybe even creating a standard process of information for you to be able to just like pass it down to your candidates, that's going to be a big win. And we'll probably delve a little bit more in the next episode that Sam and I do regarding this, because that could be such a big topic and it could really just be the game changer for you if you have a really good internal process with your hiring managers.
Mm-hmm. That's gonna be a fun one. I love to geek out on that kind of stuff. Okay, that's gonna be our deep dive. All right, so stay tuned. Part 2 that will come probably next week, next Tuesday when you listen to this one. Okay. So yeah, what else are you doing and looking at within time to fill and how you can improve that?
So, in terms of what you can do, for example, if you do use a lot of technical tests, I would say, because I work with some, I don't know, in house companies that they require a very big software engineering team. There's a lot of rotation, or maybe they're growing at a rapid scale and they really need to get people through the door. Sometimes I've seen that even their internal engineers will concoct and will create this very elaborate technical test for the software engineers to go in and do. Sometimes they will even do it like in front of them and the pressure is really heavy. Think about maybe getting a third party in that will be able to create a standardized process for testing, for technical testing of these candidates that can do it for you. Because at the end of the day, maybe what you need to do, or maybe what you need to know, is that they can actually code in Python or Java, or that they have a little bit of knowledge of like front end and back end. But you can teach them a few more things in terms of what your system works, and then understand in the culture fit if they're the kind of person that would be open to learning and molding themselves to your system. So it's not just about maybe accepting the hiring managers with the idea of like, I'm going to create this very elaborate technical test for our interview process, which could actually increase again your time to hire because they could take a really long time to do that. It could just be maybe looking at third party companies that would be able to bring you the answers to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one feels like a cheat code right there. I like that, especially when it's looking. It's like just what are the core skills that they need? Because everyone, you're gonna want to teach them and help them grow, especially internally. There's gonna be the nuance that the existing engineers know, and they're gonna look for them to do it this way. But these people haven't been at the organization or might not think about it in that manner yet. But if that's the goal, is you should teach them, bring them up to speed. So I like how you're thinking about the outsourcing that part.
And that's also so crucial, especially if you're trying to hire more junior people and mold them into your business, because
Mm-hmm.
they could have a very new vision of what they learned in university or at their previous job. So they were quite raw. This is the perfect opportunity for you to bring them in and help them grow. And they could be the trailblazers of your company. And at the end of the day, if you're an in-house recruiter, that's also kind of what you want. You want to bring in talent that's hungry to be able to show and prove their quality of their work to the rest of the team.
Yeah.
So maybe that could be a good way.
Yeah. Okay. AI. Let's talk AI as part of this. Everyone's talking AI. Like, how are you using AI to help with time to fill?
Oh, so much. And now that I feel like Loxo is very much intrinsically connected with AI and it's trying to make recruiters' lives so much easier. Just the tools, for example, to understand what shortlisting looks like, it could just be very helpful for you in the sense that you might be bringing a lot of candidates that could have already been warmed up, like you've already spoken to them in the past, you know them, you have a relationship with them. They might have even gone to like the last stages of the interview process. And then you could really have the shortlisting of candidates which are completely cold and you haven't had communication with. There are systems out there that will help you figure out which ones are going to be the best fit for you and which ones you should be focusing on. Because sometimes when you have a pool of 500 candidates, it's very difficult to find the unicorn amongst them. And
Mm-hmm.
using AI could definitely just help you just narrow that time down.
Yep. Yeah. I love that one. I point to it so often. You go and you could put in the perfect Boolean query in most sourcing databases, but the best candidate might be on page 47 as a result, because there's no rhyme or reason to how it's ranked. But if you know the hiring company, what makes them up, the job description, the title, you can infer all these different things and then match that to the candidate. That's where a true, machine learning comes into play. That type of AI that's, here's what we know about everything you're looking for. Here's the best candidate on paper. Again, this is recruiter has to come in and vet all this, but at least it gives you that prioritized list for you to speed all that up. Like you said, it's so, I don't know, use technology to your advantage.
Exactly, because recruitment has shifted and changed so much in the past years, and also working in house, the amount of people that have been in house recruiters for their HR team or their talent acquisition team. Sometimes I've spoken to people who's like, yeah, I've been in this job for the past 15 years, 20 years, but there's so much technology nowadays that can take you off of that spreadsheet and take you into a very automated and simple way of just like bringing the name of the perfect candidate right in front of your face. And why
Yep.
not use it? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's talk another metric. What would you say is metric number 2
Oh,
that a
cost
lot
per
of
hire,
Okay.
100%.
Okay, cost per hire. Let's go to cost per hire. You are very adamant about this one.
I think that it's because of the previous company that I was working at. And I'm not going to mention the name, but what I really realized is that when you're in house, you could do all the job yourself, but it's a lot of work, especially if you're also dealing with candidate retention, if you're doing like cultural activities with the team, because it's not just the people that you're hiring, is the people that you want to remain in the business that you need to keep happy. So sometimes in terms of the cost per hire, is like you really need to focus on that moment. And you can go either way, right? Because you could go to an agency and tell them, this is my checklist. I need you to find me a person like this. Or I could put in all of the effort and maybe ask for internal referrals or things like that. What happens in terms of cost per hire if you want to be able to reduce that? And one big trick is subscriptions. Again, technology is out there to be able to help you, but there's so many alternatives to agencies that you could actually consider. So let's say that there's businesses out there that they know that you're specifically looking for. I'm just going to keep saying the example of software engineers because that's all that's coming to my mind right now. But you want to look for very specific software engineers. And there's companies out there that you can pay a yearly subscription and they will have probably already pre-screened them for you. You're paying your monthly fee or your yearly fee and you can start just vetting them. It's like, okay, I can drag them into my interview process because I've already technically paid for this candidate. And all I'm going to need to do is like, is the ROI that I'm investing in this business worth the agency fee? Because remember that agency fees sometimes can be like 16%, 20% of the value of that candidate. So maybe doing the comparison of like, how much am I invested in this subscription versus how much I would be paying for one candidate? That to me is
Hmm.
like the answer to all things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to take a quick step back. When you talk about cost per hire, what are all the costs that you're calculating into this? Because again, it's like sometimes recruiters don't think of their time as a cost or anything else. So tell me about like what's that makeup, and then that way when they go and compare it to how much it might cost the agency or something else, they are using this more comprehensive formula that they may be missing parts of.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when I was thinking of this and I sent you the original outline of what I wanted to talk in terms of cost per hire, it was more so just thinking of the placement
Okay.
of just getting that perfect candidate through the line. But it's so true in terms of like if you think of the time investment that recruiters need to put into their work, if you're just doing the entire solo work like job on your own, oh yeah. That would take it to another level
Hmm.
probably.
That's why I'm always curious. And I mean, our agency friends listening to this, they know this and they usually pitch this, but not all. I mean, we eat our own dog food. We use recruiters sometimes when we hire here at Loxo, but other times I'm the recruiter and hiring manager, and it takes a lot of time where it's like we can do it all, but should we do it all? What's the cost trade off? And that's where, if you run the cost of like what's Nat's time to record this role or to recruit this role, Sam's time, Matt's time, whatever else, and then you compare that, it's like actually it's taking me more time, costs more in the end versus find an agency, whether it's a subscription or something else. So yeah, it's just that's the way my mind thinks. It's always curious, like, what are the trade-offs of it all?
And now that you kind of mention it, I remember going to a conference where there was one particular spokesperson, and she got hired because their turnover of people that they were hiring was so, so high that they actually needed to change their entire internal structure. If she would have come in and only focus on, we need to fill in the people that are leaving, she would have been doing that forever. And it would have
Mm-hmm.
become like, like a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
We're just
Oh
never
yeah.
actually being able to get there. So why wouldn't you focus on fixing the problem from the root in terms of why are people leaving so much? And I think that that's exactly it. It's like where should your focus be, especially if you're a manager, for example, in Sam's
Mm-hmm.
case.
Yeah. Huh. Some good food for thought right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Next metric. What are you looking at?
So I kind of want to focus a little bit on candidate experience scores. And this one could be taken either way because you could very much focus on the type of questions that you want to bring to the table, I would say, of what do you want to measure. It could be very much if you want to understand if the people that are doing the interview process are the right people. It could be very much in terms of you and your recruitment team, are they doing the right thing? Or did you as a candidate feel like you were listened to and accompanied in a good way? I think it can go in any different kind of branch. And that is definitely just going to help you understand more of a qualitative aspect of your interview process. So the previous ones that we were talking about, they're very much related to the quantitative side. I'm going to say that this one is more the quality. Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you providing a good service for the people that you're having conversations with? Because ultimately, these people are going to be your brand advocates. You want them to have a good experience with you because they might refer a friend of theirs or they might come and join a process again with you. So it's about keeping the communication open and asking the right questions. And then this can also be a little bit mirrored into the last metric that I think that's a little bit of a more complicated one, but
Okay.
yeah.
That's curious on this one.
Go on.
In-house, how are you recommending that customers get this type of feedback? Is it while the applicants or candidates are going through the process? Is it afterward when usually, if you only hire one or two, are you asking someone that was just turned away, like they didn't get the role, or are you waiting a little bit? Like how are you going about that to get qualitative feedback that's actually helpful and not jaded or skewed from the outcome?
That's a very good question. I guess I'm very much of the opinion of calling like talking about the elephant in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Like the more kind of information you can give me, the more I will be able to, I don't know, like gather the good feedback, maybe put aside the one that is not as relevant because you can just like pick out the anomalies. Um, but for example, I would maybe even consider doing different segments. So you could do a moment of focusing on the interview process. So like whenever they have an interview, maybe you can automatically send them an email in terms of like, hey, just fill in these couple of questions. How did you feel about the interviewer? Do you feel that they were prepped? Did they ask relevant questions? Did you feel like you were able to ask the right questions to the interviewer? Just like things like that that you can probably take to that level. Then I would actually go in and have maybe like a post rejection. Um, Maybe it could be like a specific role or just to get a little bit more of an understanding. Because imagine if there's one hiring manager that just rejects everyone under the sun. It might be kind of interesting to understand if
Mm-hmm.
that is just giving a little bit of biased information, and
Yeah.
that could be relevant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the zoomed out data, the correlations between hiring managers, role type, anything else. And one other area that comes up so often in both, whether it's in-house or agency recruitment, it's just its lack of communication in it. And that's it's like used to just set up automation. If they just had the first interview with you, just send a follow-up. Or if they're, you haven't scheduled on your from round two, it's just, hey, 3 days if you haven't communicated, hey, just letting you know we're still working through this, haven't forgotten about you. But so often, like the candidate experience, if you can just provide a little bit of communication, you will see a significant increase in
Amazing.
what they'll share about it.
Yeah. And yeah, just to reinforce on that point, it also makes your brand look so much better. Because if they feel like the people that are working in the business are good people and they care about the people that they're interviewing, it's just going to mirror all around. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, any final points before we wrap this one up and have people stay tuned for round 2 next week?
Well, the last one that I was gonna say
Oh,
is,
yeah. Sorry. You teed that up. Sorry. Last one, and then we'll wrap up.
and then the last one I would say that it's DNI. So a lot of people are not really saying that DNI is kind of a thing. I feel like it's shifted quite a bit in the past 2 years, I'm gonna say. It's called more like inclusive hiring, and it's because of like all of the legal scrutiny that it's had behind it. Internally, they've been pushing a lot for just increasing the diversity of teams in general, just bringing more people, more women in, and it's just like it's making the focus shift a lot in terms of what's important. But the reality is that now they're trying to just get the right talent across. And if you can just like show that, like you can just show it as a metric, by all means, I think that that is also really good to be able to use tools that help you find that kind of talent as well. And then that's the
Yeah.
last one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I think that would be another macro data point that would be really interesting to look at the difference between when you're a fully on-site company versus hybrid versus fully remote. So for example, we're fully remote. We recently added 3 more marketing team members, and I think we might be one of the most diverse teams across the board. And we don't have any like DI practices baked in per se, but we have team members on 3 different continents, both genders, different ethnicities, all of that, and we're like just find the best candidate. And that naturally happens when it's just like, okay, if you open up borders, you open up anything from occurring, and the world is your oyster, it's like you'll find the very best people. And honestly, they shouldn't all come from the same bubble or place, because that's where you often do start to see some of, I don't know. It's an interesting insight going from I've been very small city before, you have to live in a 10-mile radius to work at this office, versus now fully global. I'm just like, holy cow. And it's night and day difference, the outcomes that we're able to drive.
Yeah, because the more diversity you bring to the table, the more points of view you're going to be able to listen to. Especially when you have like a global office like ours. I feel like bringing in that different mindset, it's just like, wow, I never considered that we could do this. Or maybe it's great ideas that you never thought that you could apply. Another one that could be linked exactly to that candidate survey is exactly that. Understand how, if it's a diverse group that was interviewing during that process, understand if maybe the messaging was portrayed in the right way for them, how they felt during the process. And then that will also help you maybe eventually like talk with the hiring managers and keep increasing just like their knowledge when they're doing interviews, or the way that they portray themselves, which is great.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay,
We spoke about a lot of
we
things
got it.
today.
We got a lot packed in. Any other final parting thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, all in all, in-house recruiters, they have a lot of work to do. We see you, we hear you, and if you want to talk about like other things, I feel like Sam and I will happily also just like talk about it, and I can also just do the inside research with my customers and see what they're doing, because I love talking about this.
Oh yeah. Message us, and this we always say in the outro, like send us questions, comments, podcast@loxo.co. We'll gladly field a question. It might even make the topic for an episode, so don't hesitate to share that with us. So, all right, Nat. Well, I appreciate you joining us for this mini series, first of 3 episodes that's going to come with you on here. So, as always, appreciate you joining and looking forward to next week. All right. Well, as we wrap, Becoming a Hiring Machine is a production of Loxo. If you like this episode, but you're not sure where to go next, we have a link to a similar one, and you can find that within the show notes in the description of your favorite podcast streaming platform, as well as on our website. Full video episodes are available on YouTube. If you have questions, like I said earlier, send it to us, podcast@loxo.co. And lastly, if you love this episode, which I know you did, please make sure you leave us a quick rating in your podcast streaming platform. It takes you 3 seconds, but it's going to help other recruiters like you to find us. So, all right, everyone, that's the show. That was a great Tactical Tuesday with Nat. Until next time, bye, y'all.